Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
My name's Lexi and I've always been the most responsible.
My name's Carter and I like picking on my siblings.
My name's Chase and I love a clean truck.
My name's Summer and I still like to spend my parents' money.
My name's Dane and I love baseball.
And around here, we talk about the real stuff. Parenting, marriage, faith.
Along with grief, growth, second chances, and blended family life.
And all the in-between moments that don't make it to Instagram.
Our podcast is for the couples figuring it out, the parents trying their best, and the ones holding faith and heartbreak in the same hand.
Look, we don't have it all together.
Not even close.
But we do have honesty.
And a whole lot of grace.
This is Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess.
Let's get into it.
This episode is brought to you by Seven's Boutique, an online shop created by 2 sisters, Angie and Jess, who believe you should walk boldly, dress divinely, and know your significance. At Seven's, you'll find easygoing pieces that are cozy, classy, and made to mix and match. Think relaxed pants, cozy sweaters, and lifestyle sets you'll want to live in. Every item is handpicked with purpose, so you can shop confidently, dress comfortably, and walk boldly. Inventory is small and curated, so if you see something you love, don't wait. Visit sevensboutique.com and use the code PODCAST10 for 10% off your first order. www.sevensboutique.com. Walk boldly, dress divinely, know your significance.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where I've been able to eat some sugar this week.
Yay.
So, but I've not overdone it.
No, I'm proud of you.
Which was really a big part of why I decided to do 75 hard in the first place. I was eating a lot of sugar. Like I was fiending out. I was like sugar fiend.
No comment.
And so, as Angie can attest this week, even the first day I could have sugar, like I waited till like 9 o'clock that night before I had some ice cream because I saw it and I was like, that just seems like a waste. Seems like a waste of all this hard work. And I've had days this week where I maybe had 1 bite of sugar or no sugar at all. So that's a win for me. All of that to say, I did wrap up 75 hard. And what we really want to talk about today is the overall growth that really started 2 years ago for me. And I found a picture, fittingly enough, that came up on the memories of my phone the last week that I was in 75 hard. And it was a picture of me at the gym and I was flexing and I had some muscles and I was fat, beefy, round.
No comment.
It was like 38.
This is your show today.
I was like 38-ish pounds heavier in that picture. We may share all these to the socials, but so kind of fitting that was around the time where things started to, for me, go, hey, I may be losing sight of who I'm trying to be as a man. And so, started out 40 plus pounds from where I'm at now. And it was August 12th of 2024 when I decided I would stop drinking. So that's when things really started to change. We've talked about that some. We'll talk about that a little bit today. But honestly, the whole thing is you can do hard things. That's what 75 hard was about for me. Can I do something that requires so much of me on a daily basis for 75 days? You might think, oh, this is about fitness. That's what this podcast is about. It's really not. It's not about meal plans or anything like that. It's really about what happens when life breaks you. And then you decide that you're going to fight your way back, and the lessons that I think I've learned and I hope that I've been showing to other people that are around me.
I agree with you that it's really less about 75 hard and it's more about proving that you could do something that's challenging, that requires a lot of focus, a lot of grit, a lot of determination. I sometimes cringe at some of the different programs that people can follow because it's like, well, what happens when that ends? To me, like that's the real test. So yes, you had to drink a lot of water. You didn't eat sugar. You had to do 2 workouts a day. You had to follow this program. And I always think it's like, okay, you are a very disciplined person when you have a guide to follow.
I can follow routines.
Yes, but But what happens after that? And I think it still goes back to this like grief journey that we're on, or whatever your sort of journey, hard, challenging journey that you're on. It's like, what happens after that? Like, what are you going to do after that? And I think we live in a world that constantly tries to break us in a million different ways. And it's like in my mind, it's just like, so what? Okay, now what are you going to do with that? And I think for me, watching you do 75 hard, because we've been doing this podcast for a long time. You have been generally healthy. I think throughout your life, you've had a lot of ups and downs in your health journey. So I don't know what that looked like before. I think in our relationship, our marriage, is the first time I've seen you like lock in on something that's really, really aggressive and hard to do. And I actually had no doubt that you can do it because I know how your mind works. It's like when you have a challenge and it's going to be hard, but it requires a certain set of parameters. Like you can do that. My thing is like, okay, like what next then? Because I've always teased him, like, well, you do all this work, all this hard structure, and you look amazing. You look amazing. Then what? Then what are you gonna do? And it's like almost the aftermath of everything that we go through that's hard. It's like, what are you gonna do with that next?
Yeah.
What I have seen, I will say this, and Aric and I could probably agree to disagree on this, but like he can tell me a million times, and you guys all hear it a million times. Oh, you look amazing. Oh, you look beautiful. Whatever. On the day I'm just like roll out of bed and feel like ass.
Because you're gorgeous.
Yeah. See, there it is. But I would love to have a deeper conversation with people about this because in my mind, yes, it is amazing to have a supportive husband, but I am the one that has to feel that on the inside. Like I'm in control of how I feel and what the work I'm doing on myself so that I do feel that. And it's great to hear it, but if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter so much, right? Like, so here's what I would say about the 75 hard and you, and that I have seen you transform into like a different level of confidence, a different level of a swagger that you have, because I think you feel good. You feel good. You like the results of and that honestly is what matters the most. Because listen, I can tell him that he looks good and he forgets it every day. We laughed about this the other day. Every time on the podcast, if I say something nice, he acts like he's freaking shocked. And we had this conversation driving back from my mom's. I'm like, I don't know. I said something, gave you a compliment, and you're just like, my God, thank you so much for saying that. I'm like, I literally told you that yesterday. Do you forget? And so here's what I would say about, don't stop me. Here's what I would say about that. It's like, then that tells me he doesn't necessarily believe it if he acts so shocked when I say it.
Or I'm just saying, hey, I really appreciate it. Awesome. And I love that you give me this compliment. So
You act shocked. You're like, oh my God, thank you.
I did start to realize a couple of years ago, like I've always like had to pick myself up from tough situations. I did realize a couple of years ago when I stopped biting my nails.
Yeah, that I would say was the first thing that, because you in your mind,
I bit my nails for over 40 years.
I can't. I've tried to stop. That's what you told me initially. And I remember when we were early on dating, you're like, oh, I've tried. I just can't do it. And I'm like, oh, you can.
So I did.
And you surprised yourself.
Yeah, that was a couple of, probably 3-ish years ago. I did that. And so it's like, okay, I know if I could quit biting my nails, I can do a lot of things. And so then grief does a lot of things, right? This whole journey of overall health that may look like an outward appearance from a health perspective, and it is, also started having to fix myself internally. And so, grief does crazy things to people. We use the analogy this week. Sometimes it's like you're in a boat and you're literally taking on water and you're like scooping water out.
But the boat has
but
holes in
the
it.
boat has holes in it. And that's what it was like, I think, when Hallie died for me, was like, I felt like I was trying to keep our home afloat. There's holes in this boat. And I'm making it harder on myself at that point by using alcohol as a coping mechanism. Here we are, August 12th, 2024. I decided to stop drinking because I think, all right, if I can do this, I have a chance to rebuild my life, or my wife's respect. I wanted my wife to feel safe in our home. I wanted our kids to feel safe in our home. And I wanted to do that by letting them know that I'm going to show up for you every single day. You're going to know what you're going to get at the end of every single day. And so things started to change that way. And obviously, as we've talked about on the podcast, I lost like 25 to 30 pounds during that process. Great. No big deal. Liked where I was at. But then, as we mentioned, I still wasn't 100% probably where I needed to be. And I was eating a lot more sugar because, they would say you replace an addiction with something. And so no alcohol, the sugar slowly started to creep into my life. And I like cinnamon rolls and Oreos and ice cream and
anything with sugar at night.
Sugar.
At night.
I like sugar. But then I was starting to eat it even if I had a snack at lunch, it was like, oh, I'll just eat a quick bite of sugar, right? Just a bite of something. So in my mind, it's like, okay, been here, done that, where something feels like it's going in the wrong direction. I'm going to really lock in and I'm going to see what I can do with my health here at 45 years old. And so on March the 10th, I decided to do 75 hard, which if you haven't heard of it, you have to do all of these things for 75 days. You have to do 2 45-minute workouts, and at least one of them has to be outside every day. So I had a couple of those in like 0 degree temperatures. I had a couple of those in the rain. And then also you have to drink a gallon of water a day. No alcohol, which was easy for me since I'd already given that up. You have to read 10 minutes of a nonfiction book. So I was able to read my Bible and my devotionals every day. And you have to take progress pictures. And I do think, looking at the progress pictures over 75 days, I lost 13, 14 pounds. But really, when you're drinking that kind of water, you're taking sugar out, your body does start to change and transform. And I noticed my wife would feel my arms a little more when she walked by me. You did. I noticed, right?
Oh boy. Back to, this is not for me. This is transforming you.
It was transformed, but I'm just saying to you, I did notice that on occasion you were brushing up against me on occasion.
Okay,
so
moving on.
There was that.
Moving on.
But all that to say, you start to build confidence through the process of 75 hard. I see people that do it and they say, this was life-changing for me. And I don't know that I would be like, this was a life-changing experience, but it was a really good experience. And it helped with my confidence inside and out, because it's not something that every day you wake up confident. I don't. Some days it's a fake it till you make it sort of thing. And one of the harder parts of this to me was having to do 2 workouts and all of our kids in spring sports. We were very busy. And so I realized really quickly, if I didn't get a 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. workout in, it was really hard to get both of those workouts in with kids' sports after work and things like that. So I had a lot of early morning alarm clocks when I didn't feel like getting out of bed. My wife.
It's because one night I'm like, why do you have your shorts on? And you were in bed.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Like workout shorts. And he's like,
she's like, what are you, a teenager?
Well, I've got my early morning workout, so I'm sleeping in my workout shorts. I'm like, oh my God, are you like 12 years old? It takes 1 second to put your gym shorts on.
In my defense, I try to roll out of bed really quickly so I don't wake her, because I don't want the alarm to, so I'm like, hit the alarm and just like get out of bed. Like I even try to lay my clothes out in the bathroom.
Right,
because I
so you
realized
laid your shorts in the bathroom.
Anywho.
He's so cute with his little antics.
Anywho, so all those early morning workouts, and then all of a sudden I could feel myself start to just feel better internally, externally. And so we've talked before about the fact that sometimes in life we talk to our kids, but you have to have hard conversations, and that's how you have growth instead of excuses. And some of that was hard conversations that I have with myself internally about who I needed to be, who I wanted to be. And I'm not perfect. There's a Tim McGraw song from years ago. It's called Better Than I Used to Be. And I've always loved that song. And he talks about in the song, I can finally stand the man in the mirror I see. I'm not as good as I'm going to get, but I'm better than I used to be. And you can tell that I'm leading today, because under normal circumstances, I would have sang that. That just hit me. I can't believe I didn't actually sing
Didn't
that
you talk
line.
about that song last
Wow.
time on
I
our
probably did
on our
because it's so
podcast?
powerful, but I literally thought about it again often while I was going through this process because I'm not perfect. None of us are. And I try to tell men that I walk with, like where I used to maybe be like 2 steps forward, 1 step back regularly, or 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Now, oftentimes I feel more like I'm 3, 4 steps forward, a step back. And that's the kind of things that doing something like 75 hard allows you to see, is that you can make longer strides before you fall down. You still have to get back up, but you make bigger strides. I was engaged with the kids. I try to get the kids to do as many workouts as possible. That doesn't go well when you want to do a 5, not so much. On occasion, I could get them to take an evening walk with me. And overall, the last couple of years, but really during this time, I've been able to find some more patience, which is a work in progress. That's probably still like a 2 to 3 step forward, 1 step back, but it's better than 1.
Let me just remind you that we're going into summer where the kids are home more and they're coming and going. So you might need to tap a little extra into the patience bucket.
Fair. That is fair. Felt connected with the kids, felt really more connected with you, which I really enjoyed. And I do think that we really underestimate sometimes our habits. When we do unhealthy habits, it leads to unhealthy feelings about ourselves internally. I know there's a lot of people that are listening that can think about that. Think about when you're just, and I've been guilty of this, sitting around on the couch eating pizza, watching TV all the time. You end up starting to not feel so good about yourself. It feels good that night, but then the more and more you do that, oh, I'm going to DoorDash Taco Bell, or I'm going to not go take this walk, or I'm going to not do this workout. I mean, so much research. We always feel better when we go outside, when we walk, just 30 minutes a day. So all these different things that I think lots of little healthy habits have helped me to feel like I'm making progress in life.
I think it's, I'll keep reiterating that this should absolutely be something that you are doing for yourself, not for the approval of others. So if you're thinking about following some sort of program, like do it for yourself, not hoping that you're going to get validation from someone else. So that's something I talk about all the time on like relationship red flags and just being a whole person. So make sure that if you're thinking about, transforming yourself, it's for all the right reasons. Because I think if you put it in the hands of someone else, like, oh, I'm doing this so this person will like me more, or I'll get, better, accolades at work or whatever, like then that's all the wrong reasons. You're going to get disappointed and you're going to be set back on that. So I would do it for the right reasons. Do it because you want to become the best version of yourself. I think when you do that and you look at it through that lens, you impact everybody around you. They're watching you work on yourself. And I think for me personally, like that's what's attractive to me. It's not necessarily your muscles. Yes, they look nice. But what's attractive to me is watching a person want to be the best version of themselves. And I think that's great for our kids to see. And it's so easy to get stuck. Like I feel it so many times. Like I always on this like up and down thing where I have a good day, but then the next day I'm just emotionally, mentally drained. And that is something that like I can't put that on other people around me. Like that's something I have to work on. I have to own. And yes, you can have support from people around you. I guess my point keeps coming back to, I think it's a beautiful thing when people lock in and want to improve themselves, whether that's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all of that. It doesn't have to be physically. To me, it's a beautiful thing to watch and to see people do that because it's hard and it's just easier to be stuck.
Well, it is. And when you do that, though, you start to free yourself. And it does take discipline. And I think discipline a lot of times is a word that people are like, doesn't sound good. I don't want discipline. But really, discipline gives us freedom. And you think about if you read your Bible, Jesus is giving us a roadmap that requires discipline. And when we follow his roadmap and we follow his discipline, we're much happier in life. Like we have much more freedom actually than what we think. When our parents tell us to do something, we usually end up actually much happier that we did it rather than when we do it our way and we mess something up and then we're mad about it. Discipline really is such a key thing in life. And I'm in my 40s learning how important being a disciplined person is, not just for my outward health, but my emotional health, my spiritual health, and all of those things.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I know we're talking about your 75 hard experience, but habits can look a million different ways. Like I made the comment this week and just talking to my family, and we were talking about Hallie, but I said, there are days where I wish, I literally, don't judge me for saying this out loud, but like, I literally wish some days I'd just drink my life away. Like to me, that would have been an easy button. I'm just going to drink and then I don't have to feel it and I don't have to heal and I can just numb and just be oblivious, just numb every day. Honestly, that would have been the easy button to just go down that path. Instead, I'm choosing discipline and choosing to focus on healing, to focus on setting example for my kids on how to handle the heaviness that life throws our way. That takes hardcore focus because, man, there's so many times I like to just hit that easy button and just not even think about it, just numb.
I can tell you I tried it out of the gate and it didn't work. It actually made me feel less happy, even more sad, even more miserable, and it made me feel farther away from Hallie. When I gave up alcohol and I started to live a healthier lifestyle and get into my Bible, it's allowed me to feel Hallie's presence more, even though she's not physically here. And so, again, one of those things where we have the discipline to do these things, it really helps us in all aspects of our lives. And so, again, this is not about perfection. It's really not. This is about just being a little bit better every single day in the things that we're doing. And for years, I wanted external confidence. There are times I still want that. That's going to be something that I'm battling in this earthly life, I think, for a long time, is the need for the attaboy. But I am finding more and more, the more I invest in my overall health, I am finding that Jesus loves me the way that I am in the good work that I'm doing to try and live the best version of my life. Because again, we learned that this body we have is a gift from God. He made us, created us in his image. And so in doing that, we should want to honor this body that he gave to us by trying to take care of it. And you do that by the walking, the working out, reading your Bible, reading to better yourself, all of those different things. And it's okay to know that for me, I'm not perfect, but I'm becoming, like I said about that Tim McGraw song earlier, finally stand the man in the mirror I see. And that's a much better place to be, I would say. Also, small sidebar. I read this today. It's a little bit applicable. Someone online this week said the phrase, "It's all downhill from here." When you hear that, do you take that as a positive or a negative? So people started commenting.
I think it depends. To me, it depends on the context that you're using it in.
Well, I think so, but people started commenting. 2,000 people got involved. 87% take it negatively. 13% think of it positively. That's one of those things that I think that's kind of like what we're talking about here is your mindset. Because what we should hear when we hear it's all downhill from here, it's like when you push a car and it starts to go downhill, it should be the easier button, right? So I think there's always going to be challenges in life, but I think it's a mindset. So it's all downhill from here. Let's try to start thinking about that in a positive aspect.
The reason why we want to kind of dive into this for this particular episode is that 75 Hard is just one example of what you can do to kind of regain your focus and start setting healthy habits across the board. But I do think doing something like that, kind of this sort of reset, catapults you into being able to handle the hard things that are thrown your way. Because I just don't feel like life is getting any easier.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
I think that you just end up becoming stronger. And I think the biggest waste that we could do is to not learn from the hard things that we've gone through, not learn from the mistakes that we've made. And I think when you can do that and you can reflect on the good, the bad, the hard, the ugly, all of that, and be able to turn that into strength, that's powerful.
Yeah. And
That's power.
it's very powerful. And even on that journey where you start to make the positive steps, you are going to have hard times in that process. I know people that think, well, I'm doing the right things. I was having a conversation where he's like, I was doing all the right things, but yet things still weren't going my way. And
Then
so
I
I
would
got,
say in that scenario, then that's not the door that God wants you to go down.
well, and I said, yeah, but sometimes it also takes longer than your timeline. And I'm like, I saw you doing all the right things too, but God doesn't work on our timelines, doesn't work on mine, doesn't work on yours. And so sometimes you have to keep doing things longer and even tweaking the plan that you're on so that you can continue to be a better version of yourself. And
I also think and this is hard for me too, because I feel like, we're almost, I don't know, 3.5 years in to losing Hallie. And I still feel like there's a lot of times I'm in that fight or flight mode, in this like survival mode. But I do also know that that's not who I have to be forever. The hurting part of me, the coping part, the fight or flight part, the sad part, like that's also takes a very long time. And so a lot of times your journey to healing are small incremental steps to try to get to the best version of you. So don't put yourself on a timeline either. I will say that, because there are times that I definitely think, God, shouldn't I not cry as much now? Or shouldn't I be feeling better? Or shouldn't I not be in fight or flight mode at different times? And I think you also have to give yourself grace. But so much of this is internal dialogue. I mean, I hope that you guys, you feel that too. Like so much of it is what we're telling ourselves every day. And it's such an internal job. And, we're just trying to share ways to be your cheerleaders and share stuff that we're going through. And, maybe it can apply to your life.
yeah, you
And
might,
give you some inspiration too. Like, okay, well, they've been through all this and they keep going. We can too.
yeah, you might feel stuck right now. And I get that. I have felt stuck. And you got to figure out what's going to work for you, dig down deep. And one of the easiest things is just win the day. Like just win one day. Take the 30-minute walk. Have the hard conversation you've been putting off. Pray a prayer. You may have to pray that prayer daily for a really, really, really long time. Drink some water, right? Water is good for you. Get some sunshine. Vitamin D is good. Sometimes it means put the bottle down. I'm going to tell you, I tell guys all the time, I do not regret putting down the bottles of beer. I don't. Reading books, I tend to feel better when I do that. Just start somewhere, because those small disciplines eventually will start to change your life. Again, what we talked about a few minutes ago, instead of being 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you'll start to be 3 steps forward, 1 step back. You'll start to be 4 steps forward, 1 step back. But it takes a little bit of discipline starting somewhere.
And that might be the biggest message of this whole episode, is that I do think you gain that confidence when you realize that you can do hard things. And I think that's probably been your biggest journey, from the I can't stop biting my fingernails to I can do 75 hard, is that you realizing like you do have this strength to do the hard things, to overcome the things you didn't think you could do. I think for me, it's like I know I can survive terrible seasons. I can survive. I know that I can rebuild. I know that eventually, I will find healing. And I know that there's better days ahead. Not perfect. Not perfect. Don't ever have that expectation. But I know it will be better.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, this wasn't really a 75 hard journey. It was just a journey trying to find my way back to myself and who God has wanted me to be. I do feel closer to God. I talk to God all the time.
I think that's the perfect place to wrap. So if you're listening today and you feel stuck, you feel overwhelmed, you feel disconnected, lost in whatever that you're going through, this is just your reminder that your comeback can just start with one little decision. one step, one discipline at a time. And I think that maybe the most beautiful part is that you end up discovering the version of yourself that was there the whole time, just waiting for you to fight for them again.
I want to thank everybody who did support me on the journey. The kids, Angie, many friends that picked me up. I know it was around between days 30 and 40. I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to finish this. And Angie and Summer, I remember both picking me up at that point in time. And then you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to do this. My trainers, Michael and Jarrell, who they were on the podcast early on, season 1 and 2, they were super supportive. And so really appreciate everyone. And you do not have to start your journey by doing 75.
No.
I would wait. And maybe a couple of years down the road, that's something you decide you want to do, like it was for me. But start with small steps. And again, one easy one that you can take is that if you just want to reach out and walk, I would love to just go walk an hour with you. So I do that often with men, and I think it's just a great way to get some exercise and talk.
You don't even have to walk with. You could just reach out to us if you need some cheerleaders or you want to vent or just share what you're going through.
Hopefully Angie gives you the advice. Hers is usually better than mine.
Just ask for me. Just ask for me in the message.
Guys, we hope that you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Lexi and Hal, take it away.
I'm Lexi.
And I'm Hallie.
Have a great week.
Or have the week that you deserve.
That was perfect.
God bless.